Haku, Haku, Santana, Julie Tumamayat Stensly. No on Chumash Katluna Achai. Cocowash Vincent Tumamayat. Keriwash Lucy Castro Tumamayat. Woyo. So hello, my name is Julie Tumamayat Stensly. I am Chumash and I live in Ojai. My father is Vincent Tumamayat and my mother is Lucy Castro Tumamayat. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us today. We're in the beautiful town of Oakview and we are surrounded here by our native plants. Today we're going to feature a few plants that are here in the native garden, and we hope to encourage you to invest in our native community and our landscapes and to get to be friends with some of these beautiful ancient plants that have been here and help to sustain the Chumash people for thousands and thousands of years in all types of things, as clothing, food, ornamentation, medicine, shade, as we're under our beautiful grandmother oak here, and we'll just go ahead and explore. As a native person growing up in my homeland, I think that in itself is something to recognize, is that native peoples here in the Chumash Nation, some of us never left our homeland. We're still here, and our culture goes back thousands and thousands of years. So those ancestors and those people laid the foundation for us in their interviews, in their knowledge that they had with this relationship with Mother Earth, Hutash. And because it was their supermarket, it was their clothing store, it was their pharmacy, it was everything to them. They wouldn't have survived unless they had that knowledge, learning from the animals and watching the seasons and calling and praying for rain. So their relationship with this natural world was something that is unbelievably intimate. It is a sacred relationship. It is a shared, even scale relationship. As you come into nature, go slowly, go in a place of awareness that you're paying attention to where you're going. So just a little background about that name Ojai, because a lot of people want to know what Ojai means. Ojai comes from the name Achai, meaning moon or lunar phase, and it's a village. So we have other names too in our area. Some of you that are in elementary school may go to Matilha Junior High School. Now Matilha is the name of the village and it means division. Or you might go hiking up to Sespi or Sespik, meaning kneecap. Or you might go on Cesar Road, or you live on Cesar Road. That means the eyelash. So we have all these names that we use. Topa Topa Elementary School. Sistoptopo is the native name. And if you look at our mountains, our Topa Topa mountains, which are quite beautiful and very distinctive, we use that name Sistoptopo, meaning much cane, meaning there was a bamboo, a grass, a reed that was growing up there. So we have and are using some of our Chumash language here today all around the areas. We have places in which we went to go pray for rain. We went to find out in our upper world of the Chumash universe. We have an upper, middle, and lower world here. So we live here in this world, Itiashup, the middle world. Up above, the sky people in Mishupashup played a game that lasted all year long. It was a gambling game. And the moon, she refereed. The ante was rain. In places where you may get familiar with later on in your studies, caves that were painted. They were painted inside, and in those places where many things went on those cave walls. One of them was the weather doctor, and it was the weather doctor who wanted to communicate with the sky people to ask them who won the game. Is it going to be a wet year or is it going to be a dry year? We need to know. So sometimes he was right, or she was right. Other times they didn't hit the mark, and we would have drought and no rain for many, many years. And it was really hard on the people when there was no rain, because as we weren't farmers, we didn't have agriculture, we didn't have irrigation. We solely relied on the waters and the streams and the rivers and the rain that came down. And we had songs and prayers that happened and rituals to call the rain in. And then that all got lost. A lot of that information was lost to us as Native peoples as the missionaries came in, and a lot of our families were taken away from their native habitats, their native lifestyles, their lifeways for almost 200 years. So coming back to those places, there were few people who remembered the natural world and all its properties and all a single plant, such as this oak tree that I'm sitting under. Ta is its name, and we've had to relearn it. We've had to relearn all those different amazing things. Some of the things that we haven't been able to learn, and we're still learning, is just how people spoke to them. What were the prayers that were said to this beautiful being here? We have no plant songs. We have no like picking songs when we're picking the juncus for basketry materials out of the creeks. What were the songs? Many other tribes around here in California and up north, the grandmothers refer to this very tree or to a tree or a plant as if it were a relative. They still kept that connection with looking at it as a living entity, a living spirit, and treated it as such. As I move along in the world and gather plants, we've learned several things about learning how to gather. Our bodies, for instance, I go in many directions to learn how to communicate with plants, and they're listening. They're always listening. I introduce myself. I know that when we had celebrations, there were always gifts and honorings that were given to the earth, Hutash we called her, when we gathered. So what we learn about gathering plants is you don't pick the first one. You come along and you see one, that could be the only plant. How necessary is it for us to pick the only one? You know, we want to bring in that word extinction. Now, a lot of our plants and animals and even our sea life, there's still a lot of things that are not extinct. We can recreate an entire Chumash village here with all the plants and animals, and we're grateful for that. But if we're not careful, there can be things that go extinct, and that means they will never come back again. So as we move into this place, we learn that we don't pick the first or the last, and we don't pick all of it. When women, for instance, are gathering chia seed, you know, today we buy chia in the store. Well, we have a plant that has chia seed in it. We would throw some on the ground. We would purposely let some fall. All of our old roads that we drive on, this one that leads us to Ventura, if you look around and know, you'll see all of our native plants, because as the people walked from Ojai to Ventura, they made sure they planted their plants. So there's food along the way. So if you really want to know about the native peoples, you learn about the plants and just how abundant the food is just in the plant world itself. We're not talking about the animals or the birds or the fish or the little four-leggeds that roamed around here. We're going to talk mostly just about the plant world. So you also want to make a gift when gathering plants. You don't want to gather them without permission. I always say a prayer, I sing a song, and so we treat it with gentleness. There was a saying I read in a book, Braiding Sweetgrass. The gal, Robin Wall Kimmerer, she says, you know, Mother Earth gives the plants all these plants. They produce medicine and food from air and water, and then they give it away for free. And I think that is just such a beautiful, beautiful way of putting how much we miss from not knowing the benefits of the native plants here. Native plants are powerful in their medicine. We want to bring some caution to how you approach certain plants. Now, when we talk about things like berries, there are some berries that look alike, where one can be pretty fine and good. A look-alike can be very poisonous. So I don't want you going out and running out in the woods and testing or eating things without having an adult or any supervision to know that it's completely perfectly okay. So as you join us on our journey, as we move from place to place and talk about these wonderful plants, I thank the schools here at Sunset School and all the students in the schools that you are from, that if you have not put in a native garden into your location, think about in your homes too, because the other thing about planting native plants is that it conserves water. You may take some plants a little bit of time to establish themselves, but once they establish themselves, you don't need to water them hardly at all anymore. They'll rely on the rains, and you keep an eye on them, and then from your home you can adapt and learn to see our seasons. We will explore that as we go from plant to plant. So right now, where we are in fall, we're going to talk about the oak and acorn, the toyon, and there's artemisia here, and we'll talk about the elderberry, which is in its dormant stage, but this is the time to gather it. So again, just learning how the beauty of California and where we are in this place of water. That's a very important issue right now, that people are really arguing about water and how we're going to have good fresh water. Clean water is reintroducing the native plants back to the watersheds. We need to restore our watersheds. It's a very urgent message that we put out to you. So we thank you, and we'll go visit some plants. Kiwanan, goodbye for now.